Welcome to Smart English School. In today's episode of the Smart English podcast, we explore one of the key methods for improving your English, the power of podcast listening. We are asking a simple yet important question. Can podcasts really help you become fluent in English? Many language learners wonder the same thing. Podcasts are everywhere free, flexible, and available on almost any topic you can imagine, from self-improvement and science to news and storytelling. But the big question remains, can they actually improve your listening skills and help you communicate better in English? The short answer is yes, but only if you use them the right way. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at how podcasts can support your language learning. We'll explore their benefits, discuss what they can and can't do, and show you how to create a podcast-based learning routine that works for you. We'll also touch on the science behind listening and offer some tips for improving both your listening and speaking skills. Finally, we'll show you how to combine podcasts with other learning strategies for the best results. Chapter 1. Listening, the secret weapon in language learning. Let's begin with a foundational truth. Listening is the gateway to fluency. Think about how children learn their first language. Before they can speak a single word, they spend months, sometimes over a year, simply listening. They don't study grammar, they don't memorize word lists. They just listen to their parents, their environment, and the world around them. Eventually, they begin to speak naturally, using patterns they've absorbed through constant exposure. This process isn't exclusive to children. Adults, too, can tap into this same natural method of learning, especially with tools like podcasts. When you listen to English regularly, you start recognizing sound patterns, understanding vocabulary and context, processing grammar naturally, and even picking up on cultural cues. Listening sharpens your brain in three important ways. It helps you internalize sentence structure and rhythm, making your language flow more naturally. It develops your ear for stress, intonation, and pronunciation, allowing you to sound more authentic in conversation. It teaches you how real people speak, not the overly formal textbook-style language we often learn in classes. And this is where podcasts come in. They provide you with an engaging, natural, and flexible format to hear real-world English. You don't just listen to English, you experience it in its true, vibrant context. Chapter 2. Why podcasts are so effective. What makes podcasts such a uniquely powerful tool for English learners? It comes down to several key benefits that combine to make podcasts an essential part of your language learning journey. First, podcasts offer exposure to natural, unscripted English. Unlike textbook examples or scripted lessons, podcasts give you access to authentic, real-world English. You hear how people actually speak in interviews, discussions, storytelling, debates, and casual conversations. You catch the filler words, the pauses, the laughter, and the natural rhythm of speech. This type of exposure helps train your ear to follow fast, fluid speech and get used to expressions like idioms, contractions, and phrasal verbs that are rarely found in textbooks. Podcasts also provide a wide variety of accents and voices. Whether it's American, British, Canadian, Australian, or non-native English speakers, podcasts expose you to a broad range of accents and dialects. This diversity is invaluable because it prepares you to understand English spoken by people from different parts of the world. It expands your listening comfort zone and helps you become adaptable to various speaking styles and tones. One of the biggest advantages of podcasts is their convenience and flexibility. You can integrate podcasts into your daily routine easily, whether you're commuting, exercising, cooking, or winding down before bed. Learning no longer requires a structured environment like a classroom or a desk. With just a phone and a set of headphones, you can carry English learning with you wherever you go, making it effortless to practice and immerse yourself in the language during daily activities. Another powerful benefit of podcasts is emotional engagement. When you choose content that excites you, whether it's about sports, psychology, technology, or true crime, your brain becomes more focused. This emotional connection makes new vocabulary and expressions more memorable. You'll stay motivated to keep listening, as the content feels personal and relevant to your interests, which in turn drives your learning progress. Finally, podcasts provide learning in context. Unlike isolated vocabulary drills, Podcasts present grammar and vocabulary in real, meaningful contexts. This helps you understand how grammar works in real speech and how vocabulary is naturally used. By listening to these examples, you'll improve both your comprehension and speaking skills as you absorb language and context rather than just memorizing abstract rules. Chapter 3: What podcasts can actually do for you? Let's dive deeper into the specific benefits that podcasts can help you achieve, especially when you use them consistently and mindfully. One of the most obvious advantages is listening comprehension. As you listen regularly, your ability to understand spoken English becomes faster and more accurate. Over time, you stop translating everything in your head and start thinking directly in English. This shift makes it easier to follow conversations and understand native speakers, even at natural speeds. Another significant benefit is pronunciation and intonation. By engaging in shadowing or mimicry repeating what you hear immediately after the speaker, you begin to sound more natural. Your accent becomes clearer and you start stressing the right syllables. You learn to use rising intonation for questions and falling tones for statements. You also start adopting the rhythm of native speakers, making your speech more fluid and intuitive. Podcasts are also an excellent way to expand your vocabulary and idioms. Because you're hearing words in context rather than in isolation, they become easier to understand and remember. You learn how words are used in different situations, what they mean emotionally, and how they sound in everyday conversations. Over time, these words will become second nature, and you'll be able to incorporate them into your own speaking and writing. In addition, podcasts are a fantastic tool for grammar acquisition and context. Instead of memorizing isolated grammar rules, you start to intuitively grasp what's right. For instance, you may not always be able to explain why a particular tense is used, but after hearing it repeatedly in real speech, you'll begin using it naturally and correctly. This is the power of pattern recognition. The more you hear, the more your brain picks up on the structure. Finally, podcasts help with cultural understanding. Language and culture are deeply intertwined, and by listening to podcasts, you learn more about how English is shaped by culture. You discover what people find humorous, what they argue about, and how they express emotions. This cultural insight not only makes you a more fluent speaker, but also a more effective communicator, as you'll understand the subtleties of language and conversation in different contexts. Chapter 4: What podcasts can't do alone. While podcasts are a powerful tool for language learning, they are not a comprehensive solution on their own. It's important to understand that you won't become fluent simply by listening passively. There are limitations to what podcasts can do unless you take proactive steps. For one, they won't help you practice speaking directly. Podcasts also don't provide feedback, meaning they don't correct your grammar or pronunciation mistakes. Furthermore, they won't automatically expand your vocabulary unless you make an effort to review and actively reuse the words and phrases you encounter. So, while listening is an essential part of the language learning process, it must be approached actively and complemented with other skills like speaking, writing, reading, and structured practice. This brings us to the core of this episode: how to make podcast listening truly effective. Chapter 5: How to use podcasts for maximum impact. Now that you understand the power of podcasts, let's walk through the most effective strategies to turn your podcast time into real language growth. First, start by choosing the right content. It's crucial to pick topics that genuinely interest you because motivation is half the battle. If you enjoy psychology, don't force yourself to listen to business podcasts. Your interest will carry you through even the more challenging episodes. If you're a beginner, look for podcasts specifically designed for English learners, where the speech is slower and the articulation is clear. As you improve, gradually transition to more natural, native level content. Next, you need to listen actively. Don't treat the podcast as background noise while doing other things. Focus on short segments, and don't hesitate to pause and replay the audio when needed. Try to understand the meaning before you check the transcript, and ask yourself questions like, what is the speaker trying to convey? What's the tone or attitude behind their words? Many podcasts offer transcripts, and using them can make a big difference. Listen to an episode once without the transcript, then listen again with the transcript in hand. Highlight new vocabulary and note any places where your understanding was off. This process of combining listening with reading reinforces your learning and helps solidify the words and phrases. It's also helpful to take notes during your listening sessions. Whether you prefer a digital app or a good old fashioned paper notebook, write down new vocabulary, expressions you like, and useful phrases that you want to use later. Reviewing these notes regularly is key as it helps you retain what you've learned. Try to incorporate these expressions into your writing or speaking as soon as possible to make them part of your active vocabulary. One of the most powerful techniques for improving your speaking skills is shadowing. Shadowing involves repeating sentences immediately after you hear them, mimicking the speaker's tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. Start by selecting a 1 to 2 minute segment of the audio and play it sentence by sentence. Repeat each sentence right after the speaker, paying close attention to their intonation and stress. Recording yourself and comparing it to the original can give you valuable insight into how natural your speech sounds. The more you do this, the more fluent you'll become, as it's like strength training for your mouth. After listening, always summarize out loud. Retelling the episode in your own words will help you connect what you understand to how you express yourself. You can use voice notes or discuss the episode with a speaking partner or tutor. This reinforces your comprehension and encourages you to speak with confidence. Lastly, set clear weekly challenges to stay focused and intentional. You could aim to learn and use 10 new phrases from podcasts each week, shadow audio for 3 minutes daily, write a paragraph summarizing a podcast episode, or listen to a podcast from a different accent each week. These specific goals give your learning structure and help you track your progress. By implementing these strategies, you'll make your podcast listening sessions much more productive, turning them into powerful language learning tools that bring you closer to fluency every day. Chapter 6: Why Active Listening is Brain Training. Let's take a moment to explore what's happening in your brain when you engage in active listening. It's more than just hearing words. It's a powerful cognitive exercise that shapes your brain's ability to process language efficiently. Studies in language acquisition and cognitive neuroscience reveal that active listening strengthens the neural networks involved in comprehension, memory, and speech production. When you listen actively by combining techniques like shadowing, summarizing, and note taking, you stimulate multiple regions of your brain simultaneously, accelerating your learning and deepening your understanding of the language. This isn't just passive language input. What you're engaging in is neuro-linguistic training. As you practice active listening, your brain becomes better equipped to predict sounds, recognize word boundaries, and convert spoken language into meaningful output, especially in the context of real-time conversation. In the beginning, this process can feel challenging, but that struggle is a sign that your brain is adapting. It's working hard to rewire itself for language processing. And with consistent practice, that effort pays off in improved fluency. So keep pushing through the difficulty, knowing that every moment of active listening is strengthening your brain's capacity to use language naturally and effectively. Chapter 7: Combine with other methods. To maximize the benefits of podcasts, it's essential to combine them with other learning methods. Podcasts are incredibly effective for reinforcing what you already know and helping you internalize new concepts, but they can be even more powerful when integrated with other language learning tools. For example, if you're studying a specific grammar point, actively listen for how that grammar is used in context. Podcasts provide real-life examples of grammar structures in action, which helps you understand their function more naturally and intuitively. If you're focusing on vocabulary expansion, try to identify new words or phrases within the episodes. This helps you see how words are used in different contexts, making it easier to remember and apply them in conversation. Another powerful strategy is to discuss the episode in a language exchange session or write about it in a journal. This gives you the opportunity to reflect on the content you've listened to and engage with it actively. By using the new language in conversation or writing, you reinforce your understanding and transition the information from passive input to active usage. Combining podcasts with these other methods helps create a more holistic approach to language learning, ensuring that you're developing all the key skills in tandem: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Chapter 8: Motivational Wrap-Up. Let us return to the core question. Can podcasts really make you fluent in English? The answer is a resounding yes, but with one critical stipulation. You must engage with them purposefully. Fluency is not a passive accomplishment. It is not something that materializes by simply having English audio playing in the background while multitasking. True fluency develops through focused, deliberate engagement with the language, especially when that engagement mimics real life communication. And this is precisely where podcasts demonstrate their unparalleled value. They offer a continuous stream of authentic, unscripted English, capturing the rhythm, emotional tone, pauses, hesitations, idioms, and nuances that define natural speech. However, podcasts are input. Alone, they are not enough to guarantee fluency. Fluency emerges in the transition from input to output. It is not about memorizing vocabulary or rote learning grammar rules. Fluency involves applying the language, the ability to respond, ask questions, clarify, explain, and connect. To move from passive comprehension to active speaking, you must engage with the content in a way that goes beyond simple listening. It involves processing, internalizing, and utilizing the language you hear. This shift is essential for making that input truly valuable. Therefore, I challenge you to approach podcast learning with a renewed focus. Choose a podcast that genuinely excites you, not one imposed by a teacher or textbook, but one that sparks your interest. Select a short segment, ideally 60 to 90 seconds. Listen carefully, paying attention to the nuances of the language. Then, pause and shadow the speaker repeat their words aloud, focusing on their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. This is more than imitation. It is active training of your vocal muscles, breathing, and intonation. This is fluency training. Next, select 3 meaningful words or expressions that are new or intriguing. Investigate their usage, reflect on their meaning, and challenge yourself by incorporating them into your own sentences. Afterward, summarize the content of the segment in your own words. Initially, this may seem difficult, but that's perfectly fine. The goal is not perfection, it's engagement. By summarizing, you bridge the gap between comprehension and self expression, moving from passive input to confident, active output. Repeat this process daily. Even a few minutes of focused practice can have an exponential impact on your fluency over time. Your brain will gradually begin to recognize and anticipate linguistic patterns. You will become more attuned to the natural flow of connected speech. And instead of speaking in the artificial language of textbooks, you'll begin speaking in real English, the kind you hear on podcasts, the kind native speakers use in daily conversations. Ultimately, the key takeaway is this: podcasts are not a magic solution. They are a powerful tool, but only a tool. The real transformation lies in how you use them. When listening becomes a deliberate, reflective, and habitual practice, the results will speak for themselves, not just in your comprehension, but in your ability to communicate effectively. So, to revisit our original question, can podcasts make you fluent in English? Yes, but only when you stop merely listening and start learning through listening. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Smart English Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or subscribe for more actionable strategies each week. And as always, keep listening, keep reflecting, and above all, keep speaking. Your fluency is closer than you think.